Hey guys, what's going on? I'm back with another video. In this video today, we'll be talking about the conference championship games. So get excited. We got 2 games left, and this well, actually 3 games, including the Super Bowl, but it's championship weekend. NFC and AFC championship games we're going to be talking about here. Only 2 videos left, including this one. So we'll be talking about, of course, the championship games this weekend, and then next week we'll be talking about the Super Bowl and doing stuff like that. So, first up, just to quickly summarize what happened last week. Green Bay, unbelievable. I don't know if you'd call it an upset, but just unbelievable performance on Aaron Rodgers' part in Dallas to upset Dallas. Unbelievable game. I watched, that was one of the best games I've ever seen. Unbelievable game. Of course, it came down to I don't think there were 20 seconds left. Now, normally, if the game's tied and you're in a situation like that, close game, neck and neck, 2 good teams, you just go into halftime, right? You just, because, if you throw a pick and they come down and get a field goal with 2 seconds, it's just really not worth the risk. But Aaron Rodgers, since he's friggin' balling like Jordan out there, with I don't think they had 1 inch to spare on this play. Unbelievable play down the sideline to Connor Cook, toes just touching the drops of the white paint on the could not be any more to the edge of the field without going out of bounds. Unbelievable throw down the sideline, got in field goal position, came up, kicked the winning field goal as time expired. Unbelievable game. It was an unbelievable game. Green Bay, I would not put anything past them at this point. I would not. It seems like there's no challenge too great for them to overcome at this point. They've really overcome a lot this season. So I was really impressed with what I saw from them last weekend. As far as Dallas went there. There was a lot of talk before the game that, Jerry Jones, because we know, Jerry Jones is not the most rational owner / GM / football, Jerry's World aficionado there. He is not somebody associated with making good decisions frequently. And there was some talk that, hey, if Dallas falls behind in this game, are they going to bring out Tony Romo? Is Dak going to get benched? And my opinion on that was, if he's really your guy going forward, if he's really going to be the starter, then even if, you're going to lose, it would be good for him. You know what I mean? To lose and just sort of have that experience, because that kind of makes you stronger the next time around in future games. That's kind of what I thought, but it never got to that point. It was never a blowout at all. Dallas was always in the game. I thought Dak did a really good job for a rookie. I think the only rookie that ever won it all, I think, was Tom Brady in 2001. I saw this on TV. I think it was his second year, though, so no true first-year rookie has ever won it all. But Dak came pretty close. They came pretty close there. I wouldn't really fault him at all for what happened, for losing that game. I'd really put that on the defense and just the fact that Aaron Rodgers is really balling right now. He's hard for anybody to stop. So that was that on the NFC side. AFC side this weekend here, we've got Pittsburgh at New England. So, of course, NFC, we got Green Bay at Atlanta. It's the early game on Sunday, and then the later, not too late, it's 6:40 on the East Coast. We've got Pittsburgh at New England. So starting with Pittsburgh played in Kansas City. And we'll get to the whole Antonio Brown controversy here in a second, just to sum up the game. The main thing I'd say about how Pittsburgh played in Kansas City is, throughout the years, as players come and go and coaches come and go and things change, the one thing that Pittsburgh, the constant with that team, no matter who, whether it's Terry Bradshaw, or Roethlisberger now, whether it's, you just pick anybody you want on the Steelers throughout the years. And even though it's been different people, different players, different leagues, different, a whole lot of, variables, the Pittsburgh Steelers have always been a physically tough, hard-nosed team, no matter who's in there. And that's what we saw in Kansas City. So they went to Kansas City. The game got delayed, the NFL said, because of the weather. That's bullshit. It's because they wanted to have a playoff game in prime time for the first time, because you make more money from primetime games because there's more people watching. Of course, the reason they haven't done that is because it does a disservice to that team, because then the next week, they're kind of on a short week because they had to play late. and all that. But now the NFL, it seems like they're just going to make that a thing. Of course, they kind of use the weather as an excuse, in my opinion. I mean, I think that's kind of clear to everybody. To make the game a primetime game. I hated staying up for it. It was a pretty interesting game there. I think on Kansas City's part, Andy Reid, I called it last week. I said, Andy Reid, the end of games, whether it's clock management or just, Andy Reid doing Andy Reid things. It seems like that's kind of what happened once again to Kansas City. However, I'm not too high on Pittsburgh. I'm not too high on the Steelers or the Patriots after their performance in the divisional round here. Pittsburgh, on one hand, while they beat the Chiefs by a couple points, did not score a touchdown the whole game. I think it was 6 field goals that Boswell kicked for Pittsburgh. I mean, if he missed one of those, Kansas City would have won. I mean, you have to... If you're going into New England to play the friggin' New England Patriots at their place for the AFC Championship game, forget field goals. You need touchdowns. You need to be able to score touchdowns, and Pittsburgh couldn't even score one in Kansas City. Icy rain conditions. But because of just the grit and the fact that the Steelers are a hard-nosed, physical, mentally tough team, they were able to overcome, and so they got that going for them. Now, as far as the Antonio Brown situation goes, so if you're not familiar with this, at the end of the game, Mike Tomlin, they had the locker room celebration there. Mike Tomlin basically said, we have to go play the Patriots next week. They're assholes. We gave them, or not we gave, well, I think he said we gave them, but they had, I think, a day extra, like a day's rest. So he said we spotted those assholes a day and a half, and just kind of, he really ran his mouth. And the only way we know that that's what he said is because Antonio Brown, instead of listening to the coach, was like off in like some back corner of the locker room, streaming the thing on Facebook Live, which, number one, you should be... He was back there just screwing around, laughing, not paying attention at all to what was going on. More concerned with, his Facebook thing. And of course, athletes, any influencer now, that's the whole thing. They like Tom Brady just made an Instagram account. Antonio Brown, just any, flashy player, they're going to promote their brand and just sell their whatever branded stuff they have. And so to drive that, as an influencer, you got to be, active on social media. You got to kind of put stuff out there that people want to see, because that's what attracts sponsors. And so Antonio Brown, I think they said in the video, he's like up to 90,000 people watching it or whatever. And so instead of being concerned about the monumental challenge that is upon the Pittsburgh Steelers this week going into New England, he's too busy screwing around back there, making a video, joking around. And the microphone picked up, the stuff Mike Tomlin had to say, which, wasn't the most family-friendly. There was, some language in there. So it looks bad on the Steelers. It looks bad on Antonio Brown. It's a bad look for Mike Tomlin. And so that happened this week. So when you talk about the Steelers, you gotta talk about that. Now, as to whether or not, everybody's been saying that's gonna be a distraction for the Steelers. I actually think, I don't think it affects the Patriots at all, because there's like a very secret thing. You never see this from the Patriots, because everything's a secret with them. They keep it all, it's all business. They don't really screw around like other teams do. So Odell Beckham going out of Miami on the boat, Antonio Brown streaming, just all the different Johnny Manziel type behaviors that you see from some of these players. Patriots never do that. It's all business. It's clean cut. It's just it's a friggin' Lombardi Trophy machine up there in New England. So people are saying, well, is this going to be a distraction for the Steelers? Could it motivate New England? Say, hey, look what they said about us. My opinion is, I think it helps the Steelers, because Antonio Brown will be good, because I think Antonio Brown's going to get fined from the league. He's going to be punished by the team. So he's going to be going off in this game, because he's got to redeem himself. So you got that going on. He's already unbelievable as it is. He's already a great weapon as it is. So that he's going to be pulling overtime to really sort of try to redeem himself. The Steelers, on the other hand, just sort of putting that setting out there in the media for everybody to see, hey, this is what we think of our opponent, and this is how we act. They just sort of have to not so much live up to that, but it's just sort of, it shows everybody, we're ready to go, we're amped up. So I don't think this video and this whole debacle, video gate or whatever you want to call it, I don't think it's going to have any impact on the game. The Patriots, they're not like the type of team that's going to say, oh, look at that, they really freaking hate us, and they, get all riled up. I mean, who knows? Nobody knows because they don't, they're not live streaming stuff like Antonio Brown. However, for the Steelers, I think it's something that it kind of, it makes the team mad. It kind of makes you play with an edge. So if there's any difference, I think it might help the Steelers because it kind of brings the team together around just being angry and pissed off and physical and all those things. So getting to New England, they had a bad game. I guess they did win. They beat the Texans, which is not a tall order for any team. Brock Osweiler led Houston Texans, who only got to this point because the AFC South sucks. The Oakland Raiders were on a third-string quarterback in the wild card round, and thus you have the Houston Texans going to Foxborough for the divisional round of the playoffs. So the spread for this game, the funny part is the spread was 16 points, and even though they had a bad game and it was close the whole time, New England still went out ahead and covered the spread, which I thought was interesting. And so just to quickly summarize, New England had a bad game. So I think you have to point out the fact that the Houston Texans have a lot of former New England coaches, for one thing, and players. Bill O'Brien was the offensive coordinator for New England. Romeo Crennel was the defensive coordinator there several years ago. I think they've got... No, never. It's going to take too long to figure that out. I'm pretty sure they got him. I know he was on the Patriots. I think they got somebody else in there. And so they have a pretty good knowledge of how that team ticks. And I think for any team, there's a winning combination of things you got to do to beat that team. And for New England, it's just put pressure on Tom Brady. That's all. It's just bring pressure. It's all you just kind of have to do that. And as we saw in Denver and just different times through, that they've lost through the years, it's just a strong defenses and bringing pressure. And that's exactly what the Texans did. I think what they did was they had I think they put, two linebackers over the center. So they kind of double-teamed him just to get a guy through to Brady. He took a sack. I think he took a lot of hits. And they did not look good. So I think he had 2 interceptions, but I really wouldn't call them interceptions. He threw a ball to the highly esteemed Michael Floyd that it bounced off his hands. It was kind of a bad throw, but he, like they say, it hits your hands. Both hands on it, you should catch it. Bounced off his hands, got picked. Another one got picked, incompletions. Offensive line was letting guys through. They weren't, I don't think the victory, was ever in doubt for them, but it was closer than it should have been, for longer than it should have been. And they just did not have a good showing. I think that helps the Patriots because you want to have those flaws exposed against the Texans, who you're going to beat, regardless. Instead of in the AFC Championship game against the Pittsburgh freaking Steelers. So I think that having that exposed, and sort of, if you watch some of the press conferences after the game, we also Mike Tomlin's little locker room press conference there. But if you saw it, I think because this was the Saturday night game, I believe. So I think they had it on ESPN. I was watching. The coach and quarterback, Belichick and Brady, sounded pissed. Like they sounded like, they know they had a bad game, and I think that's sort of kind of like a couple years ago and you see it with a lot of teams, like when they got blown out by Kansas City in that game, and everybody said, oh, they're all done because they were 2-2, and they came back and won the Super Bowl earlier this season. Pittsburgh got blown up by Miami, and now there were a lot of question marks for that team. Now they're in the AFC Championship game. It's just sort of, getting exposed kind of really lights a fire under a team's ass, which is kind of what you need at this point in the season, because you kind of have to be at your best. So I think there's really things going for both of these teams. And so anyways, with that being said, now I'll go ahead and get into who I got winning both of these games. So starting with the first game, Green Bay at Atlanta. On one hand, I can't put anything past the way Aaron Rodgers is playing. I mean, he overcame... It just seems like no matter what defensive look you throw at him, he's got the time to wait for somebody to get open. Like if you give a guy, 10 seconds back there, which, doesn't seem like a lot, but if you sit here and imagine you're out there with the ball and you count to 10, that's forever. That's a lot longer than anybody gets it. And not that he even gets it. The offensive line's good, but, he'll get flushed out of the pocket. He'll run around and he'll create the time. If anybody has that long to throw the ball, someone's going to get open. And just, I don't know how you, well, I do know. That's a very tough thing to stop when you get a guy playing at that level. What I would suggest, the way you would stop that is not so much that you bring pressure on Rodgers, because when you bring pressure, you're going to flush him out of the pocket. You keep him in the pocket. That's what you do. So you don't go for a sack or anything like that. You just bring enough pressure that he's going to stay in the pocket and need to get rid of the ball fast. Give him, like the 5 yards, 6 yards. Give him those. Let him have it, because I feel like he just has to, he's having too much fun. He just wants to run around and throw it. And if you don't let him do it, he'll start, just getting pissed off, making mistakes, and waiting for balls that aren't there. So you just make him get rid of the ball, keep him in the pocket, and cover guys deep and let him have the short plays, because it just seems like for him to really get going, you know what I mean? He just really wants to throw those deep balls. So you give him the short stuff and you cover everybody deep. And that's really the only way I could see you could stop him. Atlanta, on the other hand, Atlanta has a friggin' arsenal. They have weapons on this team. They have if Aaron Rodgers had Matt Ryan's weapons, it would be, forget the greatest show on turf. It would be unstoppable. You couldn't stop it. It was unbelievable. And Aaron Rodgers is out there. Who's he throwing to? Jordy Nelson. I don't know what his status is. They said he's practicing again. I don't know if he's going to play in this game. But other than that, it's really not so much the receivers. It's just that Aaron Rodgers is playing so damn well that you can kind of put anybody out there and he'll figure out a way to get them the ball. So, on the other hand, Matt Ryan's got weapons. Neither of these teams have defenses, really. They do not have strong defenses. Why Atlanta's the number one scoring team. Throughout the season, throughout all the videos that I did, I always kind of remark, week by week at how high the scores were the previous week for Atlanta. 41 points, 45 points, 35 points. There's always some, ridiculous score because of how many weapons they had and how well Matt Ryan played. But in those games, it was 41-35. It was 45-39. It was always, they gave up a lot of points too. And the same can be said for the Packers. They do not have, it's not a shutdown defense. I think it's kind of far from it. But when you put up that many points, it becomes a shootout. It's just who can score the most points. It's really kind of what it comes down to. And so to give my pick for this game, I've got Green Bay winning this game. And the reason for that is, number one, I wouldn't put anything past the way Aaron Rodgers is playing. He can just Green Bay's whole offense is just Aaron Rodgers pulling plays out of his ass. That's the whole, and it's not something you can really scheme against, because no matter what the scheme is, he'll run around and he'll just figure it out. Hail Mary, they pull it off. So I just can't put anything past them. Number two, there's something about just dome, teams that play in a dome, where you're just kind of soft in a way, and it's Green Bay, they play Lambeau Field, infamous field, Chicago plays on the legendary Soldier Field. In the NFC North, places they get really cold in the winter, and in the winter you might go down to, I don't know, Miami or someplace where it's hot. In your stadium, it's 2 degrees. That makes you just physically tough. And there's something about, teams that play in a dome where it's warm, it's under lights, it's regular temperature, where you're just a little soft. There's just a little softness that kind of comes along with dome. I think the last dome team that won was, I think it was the Saints a few years ago. I think there's only 2. There's not really many dome teams that kind of win it all. There's something to be said about that. I don't know. There's just something to be said about that, and I just can't put it past the Packers. I feel like neither team has an exceptional defense, and it's going to come down to a shootout, and just the way Aaron Rodgers is playing right now, they got the edge. So I've got Green Bay winning this game, coming out of the NFC and going to Super Bowl 51. On the AFC side, the Patriots are 14-2. They had one loss against Buffalo when they were playing an injured rookie third-string first-year quarterback. So that's really not a loss. And then the only real loss for them this season, it seems like, was, what was it again? Hold on a second. It was against Seattle. Yeah, it was against Seattle. That was the only, just assuming that if Tom Brady was there, they would have been 15-1, for that game. And then for Seattle, they just got outplayed in that game, but it did come down to the last play of the game. So New England could have very well had an undefeated season this year. However, they played some scrub teams. They really did play some scrub teams. I mean, they played the Cleveland Browns, the Bengals, the 49ers, the Jets. I mean, they played bum teams. What can you know, there's something to be said about that. The real X factor here is they don't have Gronkowski. I mean, I think it goes without saying that he's a real force multiplier on that offense. And not having him, even though, because New England's got a lot more weapons. They did get that other tight end there, Bennett. They got him. And they got a lot of other weapons in the offseason, drafted some guys. So it kind of makes up for it, but still, nobody can do what he does, better than him. I think people were saying Travis Kelce on Kansas City is the next Gronk. That's BS. I mean, I know they wear the same number, they look the same, they play the same way. Travis Kelce's a head case, but anyways, he's out of the picture there. The Steelers, on the other hand, and like I said before, Antonio Brown's going to be going off to try to make up for what he did, try to redeem himself there. On the other hand, Roethlisberger has sucked in road games this year. His numbers come way down when he's playing on the road. Another key thing is that the Patriots and the Steelers, I don't think, have played each other in the playoffs since 2004. It seems like this game has been a really long time coming. Like they've been ducking each other for a long time, and now it's finally here. Now they're finally having the grudge match on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, I guess. And so with that being said, I think it really goes without saying that there's no love lost between either of these teams. They were, especially with the Antonio Brown video, Mike Tomlin called them assholes. These teams just do not like each other. However, it's been a very long time since the Steelers have beat the Patriots. Like, it just seems like every time they play, the Patriots have their number. They just always beat the Steelers for whatever reason. On the defensive side of the ball, like I said, the Packers and Falcons really don't have, much on that front. Different story in the AFC. New England has the #1 scoring defense in football. The Steelers, with James Harrison, I didn't know he's 38. The guy's 38. Unbelievable. The guy is a force. Pittsburgh secondary does leave a bit to be desired. Their defense has gotten better. New England does have the #1 scoring defense. So just defensively, I give the edge to New England. We know defenses win championships. It's at home. It's in New England. New England has been to 6 straight AFC championship games. I can't. It's going to be a close game. These are 2 great teams. I just can't put it past New England to not win. This is when they play their best football at home in the playoffs against stiff competition. They've done it before. They'll do it again. I got New England winning this game. It'll be a close game, though. So with that being said, it's going to be an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady Super Bowl. That's my prediction there. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching.